Doing well, man. Doing well. Sorry, I'm a little late. I too was sitting in traffic. I didn't think it would be that bad.
Well, it's always worse than you think it is. Okay. No, yeah, it's been a little while since we've talked. The spring games went by. We'll talk about that. We're gonna enter the transfer portal, but first we're gonna go to the convent, and that's because before everything happened in the Vatican this week, we invited Ian Labash, the Pit Pope, back on the show. Now, we have to get this out of the way. We need you to clear your name here, as you are a rival religious figure and someone who could be gunning for the papacy, given your credentials here, leading sermons here in Pittsburgh. So, just want you to give you some time here at the top of the show. Clear your name that you did not, in fact, assassinate the Pope this week.
Yeah, so a couple credit card transactions can put me here in Pittsburgh, probably Las Palmas, Szechuan Express, Rip Fuel and Fuddle. All the Pittsburgh, Oakland bars probably have a couple transactions to keep me here, and I don't really have any beef with them, but the real beef I'm going to have this year is the Notre Dame when the Fighting Irish come to town.
Now, I don't know much about Notre Dame fans, but I would have to imagine that someone has stolen the Pope fan bit at Notre Dame, unless they're all too far into the leprechaun thing. I don't know if anyone here has any Notre Dame insight on what they're doing with their freaky asses out in South Bend.
Oh no, but Zach, you just need the title of this one just needs to have that we have the Pope on, not Pit Pope, and we'll just get some clickbait from some of the Catholics out there. But I think Notre Dame might be too devout to even have fans donating the Pope stuff. So I think we get to keep our claim there.
All
The
right.
title is just Our Interview with the Pope.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
On whatever the new app that's not Yik Yak, but it is Yik Yak. When the Pope died, there was like a bunch of like memes about like the I've been promoted, and
Yeah,
like, the one
you
meme of
should.
the lady who's like, "You're one of my exquisite employees," and that was pretty funny.
Is this your official throwing your hat in the ring? Would you accept the position of Pope if you were elected?
I feel like it's too much pressure. I have enough with trying to like keep Pitt fans happy, so
Yeah.
I think it's
The
too
only
much.
people more angry than Catholics are Pittsburgh fans.
One would say that it's actually a harder job to keep Pittsburgh sports fans happy than to run the entire Catholic Church, but we'll leave that up for debate once we play the intro music.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide open. It's tipped. MJ Devonshire got face. He's going to take it to the end zone. Pittsburgh takes the lead.
He loves those moments. It reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell three. We're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin.
Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplified Podcast. You heard everybody in our intro. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my co-host, Kent Vanderwood and Mason Kling. And obviously, as you heard us bullshitting around, we're joined by Ian Labash, the Pit Pope himself, returning champion, friend of the show, blah, 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 blah. You know the deal. We'll go around the horn. Mason, how we doing tonight?
Doing well. It feels like a ton has happened since our last recording podcast. Mostly bad. So it'll make for an interesting episode. We'll try to put a positive spin on. But still looking forward to recording with you boys. It's been a while.
It's been far too long. Kent, how are we doing? Are you also mired in the doom and gloom here?
Yeah, it's been any events have not necessarily been good since we last recorded, but always good to chat some ball with you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's the rumors, the events, what's happened. Yeah, it's not been good. And then Ian, how are we doing tonight?
Just spent 10 hours studying in Hillman for a final exam on Friday. The end of the semester can't come soon enough.
You know, I don't miss spending 10 hours at Hillman, but there's a part of me that does. So it's a special time when you probably learn about half of what you think you do. But we're not going to talk about finals. We're not going to make you think about that. We're going to talk pit ball. Okay. Do you guys want to start with transfer portal or spring game?
I feel like spring game is a good transition because I have some thoughts about position groups that we need and can kind of address that.
Okay, so I think we can just start there. You might know that they did not televise the spring game at all. I don't think they're ever going to show anything. If they didn't televise it, they probably didn't record it. So we've only basically got what we know from the people who were there, the people who saw it. And frankly, that's why we have Ian on, because none of us were there to see it. And our friend was. We have our boots on the ground. So the first thing I want to talk about before we get into sort of position groups and everything, Eli, what's good with that? The word out there was that he didn't look fantastic.
Yeah, so the box score is going to say 2 picks, not the highest completion percentage in the world. The first pick was like a 3-yard out route that like was completely noodle armed. And then the second pick was like a fade route into double coverage. Just looked like he underthrew both of them, but I'm not going to put too much stock into Eli in a spring game. I saw him last year's spring game. He looked not good in the slightest. There are people questioning how this guy got to Bama. Eli is like a gamer where like I've heard he doesn't practice amazing and comes out and plays like a baller. So I'm not going to put too much stock in it.
Okay,
I feel
sorry.
like I probably said this last year as well, but the good thing about the spring game is that you can always do a spin zone when you're playing against yourself, right? Like maybe the defense was just looking that good, right? Maybe they gave him some looks Eli hasn't seen before. Like you can always spin it. So that's my positive takeaway from the episode anyway. And I think you're right, Ian. Like when the lights come on, he does feel like more of a gamer. I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into a spring game performance either.
I do want to say that when it comes to going against like your own team, I'm pretty sure that I'm looking at their rosters now. Eli was going basically against the starting front seven in the spring game, and something I should have mentioned off the top is that basically a ton of the like best players on offense didn't play. Desiree didn't play. I don't believe that uh, Jules Goff played either. So that's your top 2 running backs out, as well as Derek Davis. That's your top 3. Your top receiver in this game, who was playing, was Kenny Johnson was playing, but beyond him was probably Zion Fowlerell. So like, I think probably you learned less than ever from any spring game you've ever had in Pitt history, just because so many people are out and it obviously wasn't televised, so it's hard to learn anything from it. But yeah, I'm confident in Eli, but also I want to stay on the quarterbacks real quick because you texted me this, I think, right after the game. You were very impressed with the freshman quarterback who just got to campus this spring. This spring, Mason Heinchel.
I don't really know how to pronounce it either, but from guys on the team, they're saying that this guy, don't be surprised if he's quarterback 2 when the first Pat Narduzzi depth chart comes out. He's a guy who probably I was told he had the best spring out of any quarterback. Um, through his touchdown was like a screen or like a slant that went to the house.
Mhm.
Stats are weird because they didn't actually play tackle this year. It was a thud football scrimmage. So the stats are kind of out there, but the zip that he has on his balls, I was especially impressed with any outbreaking routes. Just seemed like he had an extra gear on the ball that I haven't seen from a pick quarterback in a while. So that's what I take away from it.
Yeah, that's something I noticed too. I mean, not watching the game, but um, I had of course you got to go watch if you're gonna watch the tape of any quarterback or any recruit you get, you watch the quarterback's tape and you just talk yourself into this guy being some sort of under recruited gem. I kind of genuinely thought that with Mason, and it's for the reason exactly you said. He had really good arm strength, and he also had great zip on the ball, and he was playing behind a line in high school that was actively trying to kill him. It's really funny. If you go watch his tape, I think his left tackle might have concrete cinder blocks for feet. But even with that on the tape, he really does have good zip on his ball. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if he was QB2 in the first Pat Narduzzi depth chart either, because everyone knows that a Pat Narduzzi depth chart is like, about as useful as a napkin, and like you might as well just ask like divine like with oracle bones like the Chinese used to when you're looking at a pet depth chart seal play.
Yeah, I
Not
think
just a napkin, a
13
wet
oars.
napkin.
13 oars last year on the first depth chart.
What's the or? What's the or over under for this year's? Where are we setting the line?
Okay, I can expect probably an or at QB2, running back 2. We'll go with an or at all 3 wide receiver positions.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already at 5. I'm going to give a blanket 2 ors for the O line. I'll give you 3 across the 4 D line spots. So that's at 10. Linebackers, I think we're safe. I'll give you another 3 in the secondary. So I'm going to say 12 and a half. I'm going to one up. I'm going to put it right at the number from last year. I don't know if we're going to go up, but I think 12 and a half is your over under number.
Give me that over.
I probably
Yeah.
I'd probably go over on that.
Life's too short to take the under, even in Pat Narduzzi depth chart lines.
Dude, there's a reason we call him the Wizard of War around these parts. Okay, no, I mean it's awesome to hear that Mason's looking good in his first spring practice, but I do want to get to what you said earlier about sort of what else you saw, because you basically, what position groups did you see that might need to be addressed moving forward here?
I think we still need another receiver. We'll get to Hakeem Williams later, but I want to tell this story. I think it's been kind of put out there, but from my perspective, I think it was one of the more interesting things I've ever seen on a football sideline. So I'm sitting on the team that Cade Bell is coaching, and he's calling the plays, and he's this fiery Southern man. And first drive comes off, and Kenny Johnson comes off, and he's trying to talk to Yeen, the transfer from Florida. And Yeen has his helmet off. He's not really like looking like he's ready to play a football game. And from what I gathered, they're supposed to rotate on and off the field. But Yeen audibly said that he doesn't know the playbook, so he's not going in, and then didn't take a single snap of the spring game. So we at least need someone to play that receiver spot. I think that Pitt receiver room just needs like a big body physical receiver to go alongside Kenny Johnson and the other gadget guys that they have behind him.
Yeah, and like I think one thing that is gonna alter that perception is the way that everyone was heard, because I think the guy that they were looking at bringing in for that role is Deuce Spann, who's like 6'5" out of Florida State in Illinois, doesn't have a lot of career production. I did hear that story about Gene where he was just like, I'm not going in, like, and then he foreshadowing, immediately transferred out of the program, which is not very shocking at all. But with him, like, he was just like one of 8 5'9" receivers we have, so it's not I think losing Andy Jean was sort of a hit we could take as far as position groups go. But I do agree that you need that big body receiver. Because I do want to sort of talk about the players leaving the program, players that are coming in, and then like rumors about players coming in or out. Right now, there are, I believe, six scholarship only, 6 players who have left the program since the spring game. That would be Jake Rendo's a tight end, Cam Montiero, wide receiver. Unfortunately, he was one guy who's like, you should look out for this guy in the spring game, and then he immediately transfers out. So that is my bad on that one. Andy Jean, as we mentioned, shorter wide receiver, and then 3 linemen, Adam Abaraya, Terrence Enos, and Moshe Morenzer, who is the one who's committed. Actually, he just committed to App State today. Real quick, just want to say about all those names, none of them were starters, and none of them were like particularly, I would say, huge losses out in the portal so far. You got to understand most of the transfers out in spring ball are roster cuts. That is a fact of life now with the transfer portal. So,
Yeah, I mean, Enos was the only guy that played any valuable time, and even though he came in a tough spot, having to try and be one of the band-aids to replace Branson Taylor. I mean, there were people in the students section that were claiming that they could block better than him. So that'll kind of gives you an idea of what his perception was.
You beat me to it. I think the more interesting stuff is right now looking at the possible players coming in. We've been talking around it. The first player I want to get to is Hakeem Williams. If you have been a Pitt fan for a couple years now, which I assume most of you are, you might remember this name. We were covering his recruitment pretty tightly on the show when he was coming out of high school. It seemed like he was going to pick Pitt coming out of high school, and then Florida State came calling at the last minute. He ends up going to Florida State for the last 2 years. He's back in the portal now, and I believe he's wrapped up visits with us, Syracuse, and Colorado. So I don't have any inside information, I don't have a crystal ball like these recruiting insiders who obviously use a crystal ball. But I feel good about this. This is just a vibes-based prediction because Narduzzi's really good at getting these players who hop into the portal after the first couple years of their school, using that connection he made during the high school recruitment, and then bringing them back here and then landing them. Because, Ian, as you mentioned, Williams is like 6'4", 6'5". He's a big body receiver. He's the body type of receiver they don't have on this team. Besides Span, who hasn't really played a ton of wide receiver, Johnson's the tallest at 6'1" or 6'2".
I'm gonna be honest. I just zoned out for the last minute.
Okay.
I mean, I helped personally recruit him on when he was a senior in high school on his official visit to the Pitt Tennessee game that we lost in overtime.
So what I'm hearing is you didn't do a good job. You got to get back out there. Frankly, your papacy has been tarnished by this blemish, dude. No, I'm kidding.
I don't have the money the Catholic Church has, or he would have been a Pitt Panther junior year of high school.
Well, okay, that's what we got to do. We have to get You think the Pope would make a donation to the Pitt Panthers if we asked him hard enough? We're like, hey, we just need your money. We need to put it towards good services, as in taking down Notre Dame. They might get mad about that one, but we'll be looking into it, I suppose. Real quick, the other 2 names besides Hakeem Williams, just because that is one that I have been tracking ever since he did not come to Pitt at a high school. Zion Ferguson is a cornerback from UNC who will be visiting, I believe, tomorrow. That's the 24th. We're recording this on Wednesday. And then Mason Nelson, who's a D tackle from Western Michigan. Frankly, I think those are 2 positions of strength here. These would be luxury takes. Really, it's important to land a big wide receiver above all else. I think this team's pretty well situated moving out of spring. you just need a big play wide receiver. I couldn't think of any real other position of intense need for the football team.
How long is the portal open? How long do we have to land these guys?
So you can enter the portal until tomorrow, I want to say, but the way I operate is that the portal's always open because no one stops anyone from just being like, I intend to enter the portal when it opens. It's like, oh, okay. I'm
That's
I
very
think
true.
I think it closes tomorrow. You can still be in the portal. You can't enter the portal after whatever the day is. I think it's tomorrow.
Got it. Okay, so we should have a pretty good idea here in a couple weeks of ideally what the roster will look like moving into the summer and fall camps.
Yeah, I don't think it's besides probably one or two ads because you, the thing with like the difference between the winter portal and the spring portal is like winter portal is truly like recruiting. I think a lot of guys in the spring portal either are, like I said earlier, kind of getting like, hey, you should go find playing time somewhere else, maybe step down, or they're guys like, for example, actually Nico's a bad example, but Aguilar, the guy who went from UCLA to Tennessee in the Nico Iamaleava trade, they're entering the portal with a set destination in mind most of the time. So, guys like Nico apparently, getting that raise at UCLA and then the other guy coming back. It's going to be a couple more ads, and probably at this point, no more probably not any more departures. Yeah. It's a little bit easier to track once the opening day kind of sets aside, but yeah, it should more or less be this roster through fall camp.
The Nico stuff's crazy. I know I don't want to totally derail our conversation, but
No,
we
you know
should
what,
talk
D-Row,
about that
let's
at one
talk
point.
Nico. Let's talk Nico.
Okay.
Let's open it because his brother stuff is crazy too.
Yeah, that's stuff that just dropped today. Have you heard about this?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, I haven't.
All right, so let's recap for anyone who I guess wasn't on Twitter or following college football news. Nico Iamaleava, I think that's how you say it. Right before the spring game, gets dismissed from the team after a highly publicized NIL contract dispute. That's all I'm going to say. I think all the numbers being thrown out there are pretty much like just being thrown back and forth between each side. He goes in the portal. Teams very publicly say we're not recruiting him unless he drops his price. He ends up at a UCLA. The UCLA quarterback who went to there from App State goes to Tennessee. That's Joey Aguilar. Who I referenced the trade, and now his brother, who had spent the spring semester at Arkansas, decided to enter the portal, go to UCLA today, and I believe Arkansas is asking him to pay that NIL money back.
I think it's 200,000 or something.
That's the number that they threw out there. Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of precedent set, I think, here in the next couple of weeks with this kind of stuff going on. First kind of holdout with NIL, and yeah, I don't think Nico really probably made the right decision here, but it's making the offseason interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean we can talk about some of the more rumored stuff that I've heard about it. First is that his dad is the main force pushing like the NIL raise, and like obviously I think Nico's like the breadwinner for a family of like 7 with like a sick mom, so like in that situation you get your bag. But the thing I'd heard is that he was basically his dad was going around shopping him to West Coast teams. Obviously, I think Iamaleava is from the West Coast. And I forget who he fucking talked to. I think he had talked to Dan Lanning, and Lanning was like, basically flipped the information back to Tennessee, and then got him basically kicked off the team. Yeah, so that would be a fucking crazy aspect of the story. If you're talking about setting a precedent, though, I think I disagree with that because revenue sharing is basically coming up next season with the start of the sorry, not this upcoming season, the one after, so the 26-27 season, I want to say. Um, with that, you're basically just going to have schools paying athletes directly from the TV revenue money. So my guess is that NIL kind of comes back under house, and then like the actual use of NIL is like how it was used at first, which is Kenny Pickett advertising a truck on his Instagram story and not getting a $4 million payment to show up for a semester at a certain school, you know?
That seems better. That seems like a better way to do things.
100% agree.
I'm sure there's always going to be some scheming and some backdoor back table deals, but that was going on before NIL. So
Yeah, more or less. I think you're just gonna have
also,
less. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, apparently he is maybe cousins or somehow related to DJ Uyunglele as well. Did you guys hear that?
No, I did not.
Which is just going to be very funny to if he has that similar kind of. His career started pretty mid, I'd say. He took a very good Tennessee team to the playoff. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think that was necessarily because of his play. So if he now goes and does the DJ thing, it would be kind of funny. Am I right on that, or was that a Twitter rumor proved false?
With the cousin thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna look too hard into this because I don't trust the Google AI overview because it says yes, Nico Iamalava is the cousin of DJ Uyunglele. Nico's father, Big Dave Uyunglele, is the father of DJ. I know that's not true. That means they would be brothers.
Bro, Google
um,
AI, the biggest fucking liar ever. I swear to God,
it
that thing is,
sucks.
yeah.
It
Gemini,
literally tells
baby.
you something that's like that
Gemini?
cannot be true. Yeah. I don't know. I will say I think Nico is pretty good. I think his play was kind of hampered by the fact that he played for a fake offense with Heupel and the fucking stupid ass shit they do. I don't think he's gonna take UCLA to the playoff, but I think Tennessee will be hurting without him. I think that's the biggest loser in this entire situation is Tennessee. They will be much worse without him next year.
Yeah, but they also just get to. I think it's a moral victory, though, in a way. Like, did they lose a very good quarterback? Yeah, but they also kind of. I commend them for taking a stand and saying, no, dude, like, we're not just going to continue to throw money at you if you're not playing up to your potential. Um, I think a lot of schools wouldn't have done that. And I say what you want about Tennessee. I know we played some games against them in the past where, we haven't got the result we wanted, but I like their decision to say, yeah, we're gonna ride with our guys that um it's we, not me. If that's what you want to do, and by all means, go ahead. But we're gonna do our thing.
Mason, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like, kudos to them for not putting up with that and doing what a lot of schools probably wouldn't, like you said.
Yeah. Like not saying that kids shouldn't get their value, right? Like go they should get paid, they should get paid well, but there's something about doing the whole holdout thing at this stage that like just I don't love it. Might be a boomer take, but it's my take.
So I'm gonna say I don't totally disagree with you, but I do disagree with how they went about doing it, where they made it very, very public. I'm sure that there are probably a lot of schools where there are like holdouts for money, and whether they end in that school paying more or telling the kid to kick rocks, usually you don't have the school publicly airing out the fact that X player was asking for X amount of money. Like that, I think that left a bad taste in my mouth, especially with the other schools saying, like UNC and Tulane were like explicitly saying, we will not recruit him unless he drops his asking price. that felt a little bit like sort of old style MLB blackballing to me, and just sort of like vibes wise. Um, but also the other part of this is that they clearly just gave all of his money to Rick Barnes and the basketball team because he just kept signing high profile recruits out of the transfer portal for basketball. So it's like, well, you're going to spend the money anyway. And like I'm looking at their schedule right now. Pretty much their only hard games are, I mean, Georgia, they're probably going to lose that one either way. Alabama, who they can beat, they beat last year, and like I don't know, Kentucky and Florida. This could be another 10-win team with Nico at the helm at worst, and they're probably not going to win that many games with Joey Aguilar. I'm just going to put that out there. They kneecap themselves on a pretty easy path back to the playoff. You know, they get Syracuse in Atlanta. That's a basically home game. ETSU, UAB, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico State, and Vanderbilt. That's 8 games. You're guaranteed. You just need to win 2 more and you're back in the playoff. This is not a Tennessee podcast. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, this is affecting the entire. What am I trying to say? The entire world of college football, right? Like yes, it's a thing that happened in Tennessee, and it would probably never happen in Pitt because we would never pay somebody that much, nor have a recruit that level of status. But
I'm
you're
going
gonna
to bleep this out, but apparently held out for more money and then got it in the last week. So
so much.
I don't know. I don't know any figures because
I don't trust any figures that I've been given, so I'm not going to spread them because they're all over the place.
yeah, like you would actually have to have a source within like an NIL agency to get like an actual number on it. Cause like you see these numbers be thrown out, like all of them are both sides always want to inflate their NIL number because for the agents, it's going to be, I can get my clients more money. For the schools, it's, we can pay you this money. The only people really fucks over is recruits, but they kind of get left behind in both of those sides looking to produce that high number to get advertising for both of their services, whether that's paying the player or getting the player played, so my thing is always with NIL money, never believe the number if you just see it floating around on Twitter. You have to have a sourced guy, because like I knew a guy basically who was like, yeah, Jeremiah Smith, the number 1 wide receiver prospect of all time, only got $2 million. So that, in my mind, drives the numbers down on a lot of these NIL deals, with the exception that, like I mentioned before, with the house settlement coming with direct payer payments, a lot of these schools are just trying to burn all the NIL cash they have on hand, because the plan is to basically burn all the NIL cash this year, cash it all in, and then bring all the payments that will go to the NIL collective back into the school, and then the school can spend it instead of the collectives outside the school. Does that make sense? That was a lot of information.
No, I think from everything I've heard, that's what they're trying to do as well. Which is why you see a team like Kentucky for basketball who like just transferred. They got low, and people are making jokes that Kentucky has a higher payroll than the Pirates, which like they might. But
might.
I think that these schools they think there's going to be a lot more money that they can spend next year, due to what you just said.
I don't even know if it's more money. It's in the sense, or it's more like it's money that they can't spend after this year. It's basically hot money, I think. And there's a great segue to go into basketball, because I don't really want to talk about like rumored players coming and going. It's not really worth it. Basketball is where this hot money is. Like teams like you mentioned, Kentucky, Clemson also is like taking like mid-major guys and paying them 7 figures to ride the bench, is like the news coming out of there. And the reason want to talk basketball in the portal is because entire team gone. Nobody is left. Ian got to it, but Jalen Lowe transferred to Kentucky. Amsel Dulwich is out to DePaul. Guillermo is transferring to San Francisco, and then Marlon Barnes, Jorge Diaz-Graham, and Papa Conte are still in the portal, with Zach Austin, Ish
Ish
Leggett.
transferred. Issues in the portal
Okay.
today.
Well, okay. Ish graduated. He entered the portal today in case he gets another year somehow, so he would be eligible for that year. I'm not counting him as being in the portal because he's out of eligibility.
I think it's insane that people are doing this.
Yeah. Am I missing anybody else? Who? Before we even talk about all these departures, who I need to see who is left on the roster because
You
Damian
have
Dunn
Reba.
graduated. So it's Brandon Cummings, Cam Corrin, and then incoming freshman Witherspoon. Mason, you're muted. You're muted.
I said Brandon Cummings and Corin pick and rolls all day. That's it. That's basketball next year.
It's just them, and it's them and the managers actually. It's some like 5'7" white kids.
Yeah.
They weigh $180.
Yeah, no, they're. I know there was some buzz around some transfers that we were getting that probably aren't showing
We'll get
on
to
the
those.
roster yet.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I think that I don't know. Everyone leaving at the same time right after the season obviously kind of gets to our points we've made on several of these shows that Capel didn't know what he was doing, was bad at coaching. Everyone leaves. First off, I think that Lowe going to Kentucky means he's not going to have to play Batman. He's going to be good when he's not the number one scorer. I think we saw that 2 years ago. It's going to happen again. Even
He's
if
better as Robin.
He's a better Robin. He's
built like Robin.
He is also built like Robin. He's Robin, but he's no Nightwing. For anyone out there who would get that, I'm not. I don't know. I think Guillermo's going to do really well at San Fran too. Just because he's dropping down to a mid-major level, he can play more of that wing role than than a center than he did here. I'm kind of shocked that Jorge didn't immediately transfer with him. I'm kind of keeping my eye out to see where he lands. If they're no longer a package deal, that'd be kind of sad. They should play as twins everywhere. And then Delilich going to DePaul. At least he can go to Clemson. I know he had an OV there. I'm just happy he didn't go to Clemson.
Penn State was also recruiting him, and that would have killed me if he went to Penn State.
Who are you guys most disappointed to see leave?
Onsel by a landslide.
Really?
The offense was completely different when he played. Like they actually scored when he got in the game, and then I don't know what he did to not get playing time. I know like he was questionable defensively and didn't hit his free throws, but I think like for a guy with that much like pro experience, like I still think he's going to succeed anywhere, and I just wanted to see him do it at the Peterson Event Center.
I definitely kind of agree with that. Like I like every time he got in the game, he might have done something really stupid, but for everything stupid that he did something totally electrifying. Like he'd have like one play where the ball just like slipped out of his hands, like his hands were made of butter, and then the next play he'd come down and just have like the craziest pass you've ever seen. Whether they hit the shot off the assist, I don't know, but
he's the James
definitely
Winston of college basketball players.
Pretty much. But personal favorite, honestly, I hated seeing Guillermo leave. He was a guy that I was always going to root for, no matter the actual facts in front of me. So it's just seeing a personal favorite player of mine leave does kind of suck. That's the person I was actually most sad to see go.
I'll be honest. I'm
Go ahead, Ken.
not that sad to see Jalen Lowe or Guillermo leave. Like we needed to, we needed a change. Like, and Jalen Lowe proved like he was so frustrating to watch at times last year, just trying to be Superman when like he's not a Superman. He's not that guy. Like you're shooting 22% or whatever from three, and it's a close game late multiple times, and you're shooting a deep Jimmer range three with plenty of time left on the shot clock. Like that's just not like part of that's on coaching for allowing him to do that. But part of that is you just have to be a smarter basketball player than that. And it was just like frustrating basketball to watch him play at times.
So you weren't sad about anybody leaving. You just had hate in your heart.
Nah, Delhi, I'll also say like Delhi in terms of like most disappointed to see leave because I agree. Like I think he has tools to be a really good player in college, and we didn't utilize him enough last year. But what else is new? Capel not utilizing guys well.
All right, Mason, bring
Yeah.
it back around to you. Who's your pick?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It was kind of like this very clearly wasn't working. A little shakeup never hurt. I didn't think this big of a shakeup was really necessary, but hey, we got it. But anyway, my most disappointing departure was still Jalen Lowe. Not necessarily because of what we're missing out on, because that Kentucky team will now inevitably make like an Elite Eight, with him, like we said, not having to play the Batman role. He's going to be the best like 8.6 assist facilitator that just makes everybody else better on that team around him. And it's going to be really frustrating to see him have a ton of success in a different color of blue.
Could you see him winning SEC Six Man of the Year? Because I don't know if he'll be starting.
That's a good
Even.
point. I'm not super privy to their roster and what they've kind of done in the portal. If he's not starting, absolutely. I think he'll probably, if they even set a line on that, I don't think they do, but he'd probably be the favorite.
Just because
I
I,
think
he's been a starter elsewhere, yeah.
yeah.
he
That
needs
might
to
be a
not turn the
stretch.
ball over.
Yeah.
Dude, I really think that he's going to be. Look, think about where we were at before the season started and what we were thinking about Lowe and what we thought about him the first 15 games of the season.
Yeah.
If we said then, like, what if he went to Kentucky? We'd say, oh my God, he makes that team so much better. Like I think we have a little bit of recency bias. I think he tried to do a little bit too much down the stretch because his head coach wasn't very good. But Mark Pope, I think, is a fucking good head coach that will use him correctly, and I think that's what's going to be frustrating too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, like
part of
he'll
it.
probably end somewhere in the middle between the good and the bad expectations we've had for him. I think that's fair. Sorry, Kent, go ahead.
Yeah,
No, I was just gonna say, I think, yeah, like with a better coach, he's gonna do a lot better things with a lot better supporting cast around him, where he can do what he's best at and dish the ball to people who can actually make plays and score. Um, so I do expect him to be a much better player there than he would be if he returned to Pitt next year, um, which is tough to say, but it's the
You-
reality of it.
so you think he'll be better? It's just a little not quite six man of the year in the SEC. Is that what?
I'm not. I'm pretty sure they like got him to be their starting point guard just because, like, based off of like Kentucky fan tweets I was seeing afterwards, they were just really in the market for a point guard, and they were excited to get him. So I want to say he's coming in to be the starter. I would find it a little bit surprising if he went there without sort of a guarantee that he would
That's
be
true.
too.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he wants to go somewhere where he sits on the bench. Like I think he probably had some sort of guarantee that he's probably going to be the starting point guard.
Yeah,
So
that's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's going to be weird without Lowe here because like he was one of the central pieces of like the Cable teams the last 2 years. Do wish him the best. Like I don't have any bad feelings for any of these transfers out. I'll just say it. It's insane to me that the one guy that didn't go is Cam Corrin. Just that is just crazy to me because with all the additions in the portal, by the way, I did miss one player. MD Ndaye is also he's the only other returning player from last year, along with him and Bebop Cummings. It's crazy Corn didn't hit the portal. So with true freshman Omari Witherspoon is a guard that's coming in. They've gotten 4 transfers so far, which is I guess the roster because they don't seem to be getting anybody else. The transfers in are where are their names here? DeMarco Minor from Oregon State is a point guard who allegedly can't shoot. The guy who kind of looks like babyface Jokic from ISU, who's a shooting guard, cannot say that name. Nojus Indersitis is my best guess. Deshaun Jackson is the center from Iowa State as well, so that's now 2 Iowa State players in the same class. And then Barry Dunning, who's a small forward from South Alabama. Notably, nobody who can rock a 3-bomb in that class. And I think that Capel, being desperate as he is to save his job, he said, hey, what's the last thing that worked for me? Was getting Blake Hinson from Iowa State. I'm going to get 2 Iowa State players this time. It's going to work twice as well.
He got Deshaun Jackson, so that's pretty cool.
We're going to see a lot of Eagles jerseys with number 10 in the stands this season.
I wonder what number did he wear? That would be really funny. I mean, here's my thing with like the basketball portal stuff is like with how disappointing last year was, like, and the fact that they don't really even have a real team put together. Like they have 4 guards, a single wing, and 3 big men. Like, okay, sure, like that. Nothing excites me about this team coming in because I feel like with the exodus of all the portal guys from last year's team, my guess is that most of them are just going to leave the team again when Capel is fired at the end of next year, as I would assume he would be.
Yeah, I feel like there are a couple additions that like I would be excited about if we could keep a couple other core components, but it's with like you said the exodus, as you call it. Like I don't know, these guys just don't do it for me.
I will say I'm glad like Deshaun Jackson is actually like a big-bodied big man. Like he finally got a transfer big man in the portal that weighs more than 150 pounds soaking wet. So like that's good. That's a good change on his part. But
All right, yeah,
I think
yeah. He finally gets the center we've been asking for 3 years, and what does it cost him? Every other position on the fucking team.
yeah, exactly. We were like, oh, that's the missing piece, and then he got rid of all the other pieces, but then he got the missing piece. Like,
it's the fucking Thanos meme. It's perfectly balanced as all things should be. Either you can have everything but a center, or a center, and you know what? To be fair, he's got Brandon Cummings, so he has a center and Brandon Cummings. You know what? I'll be nice. I'm excited to see Brandon Cummings play next year. Everybody else, yeah, sure, why not? You're probably
Agreed.
not going to be here next year.
I'm ready for the Bebop show.
I think my biggest point is I was here freshman year for Capel's revival of the Pitt basketball program when they made the tournament. And you know how that team was successful? Shooting threes. And like no one in this lineup I feel like is gonna shoot threes. So he's gonna have to completely change their offensive scheme, which might be a good thing based on last year. I
Do you
just
think
don't
he
know.
will?
No.
No.
I was
No.
gonna say, yeah, he hasn't changed it. Regardless of what personnel he has, he's just gonna run the same thing. So
Yeah, the only difference between this year's team and last year's team is okay, so they now have 2 big guys to run pick and rolls with. Okay, cool. I don't know how that's going to work. And then you're just going to have, instead of Low and Ish jacking 1,000 threes, it's going to be Brandon Cummings. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, I think like this offense is going to be very similar to the offense I ran in middle school, where it was like you had 2 big guys on the block, and you just go out and set 2 L screens, and it's a ball screen and a kick out to the guy in the corner for 3 if the pick and roll's not there. And I think it's just going to be not enjoyable basketball to watch, and I don't think they're going to win. So I just feel like this team is headed down a bottom of the ACC season and the eventual Capel buyout, and then we're starting a full-fledged rebuild, but you don't get to keep any of the, like everyone else is going to be in the portal, and you're just going to be like West Virginia this year, which maybe they'll be able to turn around, but I just feel like you're kicking the can down the road and just guaranteeing yourself a bad season next year.
Well, with regards to the West Virginia stuff, as the teams are constituted right now, the Mountaineers are going to kick our ass in Morgantown this fall. I actually think that a hard reset after this year, if they weren't willing to pay the buyout, basically what you're waiting for with Pitt basketball is for them to bite the bullet and make that hard reset. Because once you make that hard reset, you get a decent coach in who has connections in the portal. He just brings in new guys. That first year is always going to be a portal year, and a year one portal year, and if you know, is different than a year 7 portal year, because it means something's very wrong in year 7, and it means that you're just getting guys in year 1. So basically, we're just waiting for the same thing to happen next year with better vibes. is that's the status of Pitt basketball?
Another, I guess, kind of not related Pitt basketball news too. It was very. I'm not sure where the meme came from, so but it was going around some of my group chats of when Duke imploded in the Final Four. Um, John Shire getting the Capel memes was pretty good. It was like John Shire down the stretch, and it's just a picture of Jeff Capel.
If you told me a little while ago that we'd be comparing John Shire to Jeff Capel, I would have been pretty happy. Now I am happy because Duke lost and blew it in an insane way, and I like to, if we can't win, everyone else has got to be miserable. But yeah, wow, what a downfall. I don't know. I guess it's pretty funny that one of the guys looks like Jokic without any beard or body mass, so that could be pretty fun.
Also, Ian comparing Cable's offense next year to a middle school offense is pretty fitting because that's pretty much what we've been running with him. So
I've ran a more complicated offense in my intramural basketball league this year. We were setting like back screens and not screwing the ball, and I think if I walked into like a pit practice, like they don't do that. It was insane watching the end of that season and incredibly frustrating, and I don't want to have to think about it more than I already have today.
Yeah. Do we have any other gripes to air before the end of this show? Are we all good? Are we cleared out?
I think so. I think we're good.
Shout out Pitt softball first ACC weekend series win.
Oh, I do want to. You reminded me about this because
Are you going to talk about the run differential?
I am going to talk about the run differential because Pitt softball against, I believe, number 17 or number 11 Virginia Tech. I forget which one. They're a ranked ACC team. They won a series in which they had a -5 run differential. I believe it was a -5, right? Or no, it was larger than that.
I thought it was 30-13 or something.
It might have been a -17 run differential. Let me just do let me check here.
Yeah, because they had the walk-off win, followed by the blowout loss, followed by a win. So a 1-point win followed by like a 25-point loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said -5. This was a -17 run differential in an upset series win over number 11 Virginia Tech.
So you had the numbers there.
I just had them messed up. Shout out to them because that's going to be an insane piece of trivia going down the line. Shout out to Pitt volleyball who swept through their spring season, beating the national defending champions Penn State. They won't tell you this, but Pitt is 2-0 against Penn State in the last calendar year. Stay woke, people, and I think that's gonna do it. I don't unless baseball did something noteworthy.
Nope, never.
No, they didn't. I think they beat Penn State on Dollar Hot Dog Night, but that was a while ago, and it doesn't really. That's fine, good for them, but nothing recent. Do you guys see? This is not a Penn State podcast, but Penn State played West Virginia, upset them on their last Dollar Dog Night of the year, and I believe they sold 12,000 hot dogs on Dollar Dog Night.
A lot of dogs.
That's rookie numbers.
Yeah, come to the big city. You'll see what kind of numbers we put up with dogs.
12,000. What's everybody else eating?
All right. Once again, thanks to Ian for coming on. We'll link to all his shit in the show notes. If you like the show, if you're still with us, follow us on Twitter at Simplify Pod, and we'll see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
I don't have anybody to say beat, but win
Beat the
in the
off
fall.
season. Yeah, win
Beat
the
the
off
off
season.
You know, I've got a little send off here because we're entering the transfer portal conclave era, right? You know, a lot of beat reporters will crystal ball people to go to certain schools. Me, I'm crystal balling my penis to erect. See ya.